Hello, everybody.
And welcome to
The Whatever Podcast with Jen
and Kirsten.
Holy crap. It's been a
Guys,
long time.
We have been sitting on this. Well, by the time you're watching this, we have been sitting on this for a while.
A long time.
It's been far too long. But we're back.
We're
People
back.
thought we were dead, but we're back.
Season 2. Some new things this season.
Yes. If you guys listened last season or watched, we didn't have like too many guests on the show, and it was a lot less structured, I would say.
It was a Whatever
Little
Podcast.
more chaotic. It was really channeling the Whatever Podcast. But we want to try something new.
Yes.
And do a little bit different of episodes and like how we, frame them. Yeah. So we're starting off strong today. In-house with a special guest.
Am I introducing?
I don't know. I mean, it's your
Joe
Thorson. Okay, you're not even in
He's not even in He's waving above the camera. Where's your mic?
Okay, cool.
You gotta get your mic.
Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hello.
Show Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
It's been almost a year.
Mind if I ASMR?
Yeah, if you're a new... Oh, are you going to...
Nice.
Crisp. I was gonna say it's been about a year since Joe was on the podcast last. We did an episode this time last year, and that was the last time you were on. And there wasn't even video at that point, so people don't even know what you look like, probably.
Till now.
Till
Yeah.
right now.
Hello, this is what I look like.
Wow.
But I guess we should mention for those who maybe are listening or watching for the first time, Joe is Genesis' boyfriend.
Yes.
So best couple ever, and we get to talk about them today.
Yes.
So we're gonna do a little bit different with stuff.
I
How do you guys feel?
weird not like being like it's our podcast, so I feel
know.
weird being the one in the interview chair, but it's kind of
Well, you kind of did this when we did Ethan and I's engagement. Like we were in the hot seat, and
That's true.
You interviewed us kind of. I hate saying the word interview because this is literally just a conversation around literally a living room.
Yes,
so
true.
But you kind of interviewed us, so I feel like it's only fitting we start with you guys because I don't think even I know the full story. I mean, like, obviously I lived it with you guys.
Yeah.
But, like, we haven't recapped it.
No.
Never.
Well, I mean, that's like the start of everything. We just celebrated our official year and a half.
Aww.
What was that, a week and a half ago? And so it's been a long time. There's a lot to recap in that year and a half, so.
Oh, cool.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you excited?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
excited. Wait, I need to open mine first.
Oh, yeah. We got to get that ASMR.
You can do it on my mic.
3 mics at once.
You ready?
I hope that's like the loudest thing ever.
Not sponsored by.
You guys should-
Wait, I was talking into the pop.
When you drink that, you guys should put like a like
like
the
some
slurp,
sounds?
the Fortnite slurp juice.
Yes. Can we add some more of those in this season?
Yeah.
Or like the yays when Joe walks up.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. Classic
Noted.
sound bites.
As the editor,
Yes.
I will add that in.
Yeah.
Amazing. We're upgrading y'all in a lot of ways. We're about to get 2 cameras actually.
Yes.
So y'all just wait.
Y'all just wait.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Also, just during the podcast, we just lean over and just make sure it's still recording on your
Yeah, sure
laptop
thing.
every once in a while. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
we're good.
I'm not used to not manning it. It feels strange.
I forgot that I was manning it.
Relinquishing control today.
Am I in the frame if I lean back?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I feel like to kind of start us off before we like talk about you guys as like a couple, I feel like it'd be awesome for like even acting as if people are meeting you for the first time as individuals. Like kind of give a brief flyover of like who you are, where you're from, how old you are, fun facts, like, just like an over 30-second overview or whatever.
Okay.
However long you want to
Do you
talk.
want to go first?
Me to go first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
They know more about
Before meeting you for the first time.
My name's Joe. I'm an accountant. What did you
Whoa,
flinch?
slay.
it. Did you see that light flicker?
the light just flickered.
Oh.
That's why I flinched. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
As long as we're still recording. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm an accountant. I'm from Denver, Colorado. Fun fact is I can gargle peanut butter.
Oh, what? Break out the peanut butter right now. Are you joking?
Yeah.
Yes.
What
did that stem from? Why did you
I
start saying
can
that?
I can gargle peanut butter. It takes some time, but I can do it.
You would choke.
Bro.
It didn't stem from anything. It stemmed from me being
This-
able to do
No,
it.
what
It's
did
my
we-
superpower.
No, that's what it was. You said if I could have any superpower in the world, it would be to gargle peanut butter.
No, I can already do that. That's the superpower that I
Wait,
currently
Joe,
have.
I feel like you'd be the person that can gleek. My dad
He
was showing
can.
me.
I
My
can't
dad was
even.
showing me the other day. He can
Do it.
gleek.
Can you do it on
right now?
camera?
You won't. Oh! Why did I know? That's funny.
Everybody can do it. There's
No.
those little holes
Not
on the
true.
bottom of your tongue.
I didn't realize that's what those were.
You can see
Your
them.
gleek holes.
Ew. You're gross.
Guys, don't
I
look at my
like
gleek
this
holes.
kiss.
You don't. Gross. Do I have to introduce myself?
Yes. What's season 2?
Y'all fake if you're just not tuning in. Just kidding. I'm Genesis. I am one half of the Whatever podcast. Did you say how old you were?
I didn't. I'm 23.
Okay, I'm 23. I have a communications degree. I don't know. I feel like I don't do anything fun.
Well, just like, are you from here?
I'm from Nashville, yes. And a fun fact about me is I just launched a coffee pop-up
Yes, she did.
this
Plug
year.
it.
Plug it. Bean Co. is what it's called. My
A
Instagram
side
is
quest.
bean.co.coffee. And if you listen to our last episode, I think it was our last one, if not the one before last, I actually said I wanted to start a coffee pop-up this year, and I did it. So
She did it.
I did it.
Wait, when we just talked about 2024?
yes.
Look at you go.
I did it.
It's like the
I did
first
it.
month.
I know. I said if I don't do it
Making
now, I'm
money
never going to do
moves.
it. So
That's amazing.
that's my fun fact.
Okay, well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
This is so funny, but also like it's gonna be interesting. Okay, I think. Well, everyone obviously knows you guys are dating, but I think we should like go back to like the beginning and just kind of talk about first impressions. Jen and I were talking about the other night, and we think it'd be funny to just like recap before you guys were like a thing or dating. Like, what was your impression of each other? Like, honest first thought, if you remember.
I think you should go first.
No, I think
Wait,
yours
why?
is funnier. Yours is funnier. Unless you're not going to share what you thought about me.
Oh no.
No, I'll share it.
Okay.
When I met Genesis, she was super, super bubbly. But I interpret it as her being extremely like flirtatious with everybody. So I kind of got a like not the best first impression of you from
okay.
that. Obviously that has since changed,
Yeah.
but yeah, you were just very like, oh, like you would touch people when you talk to them, like
Oh.
like just everybody, doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
And that's my
There was
that's
a,
my
there was a specific,
unfortunate first impression.
There was a specific term that you used. Do you remember the term that you used? You told me this when
yeah, but it's like not, I wouldn't say that.
it was funny. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious when he told me that. I was not offended. I was like, well, I'm like, I know that wasn't my intention. And he very quickly followed that with, I don't think you're that way. Now that I
Yes.
know you.
You're also you're also not that way anymore. Like you're
Yeah.
pretty
You changed a
different.
lot.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
I mean, you were still fun. We were close.
Yeah.
Even when you were like high
Yeah.
energy.
That's true. That's true. My first impression, I was very attracted to this man. That was my first impression. I remember we met, well, I won't get into how we met quite yet, but one of the times we were like in a situation where we met, I had invited him to, we had like a little Halloween party at our apartment party, as in we all just like went over and just, I don't even know what we did. We played games and like that was it.
Probably ate buffalo dip or something.
Yeah. And I remember thinking the whole night, he walked in his little Canadian tuxedo, and I was like, this man.
That was the first
is
time you met him?
No, that wasn't the first time. That's what I'm saying. We'll get into that
Okay.
if that's a question that you have to ask us. But it was the first interaction I had with him. I was like, he's really talented because I saw him playing a show, and then thought he was very attractive, and then invited him to this thing at our place the next night. And
It's
he
all
walked,
coming back
yeah,
now.
and he walked in, and I was like, holy crap, this man is so attractive. And I was trying to do everything I could to talk to you that night, and you ended up leaving partway through the night.
I left early.
You did leave early, but I did manage to. I sat next to him, and we were in the same class together, and I was like, "Oh, we have homework due. Do you want to like go and do homework together sometime?"
Classic Jen.
And it worked.
I got us to hang out. I made the move, and then we did. So it didn't matter that you left early.
Yeah, true.
So when did y'all, or how did y'all meet then? Where did that
Do you want to
begin?
tell the story?
We met. I mean, I was aware of your existence before.
What year are we in?
Before you, I think, knew who I was, because I had known who you were even the year before. And
Wait,
I had like,
what?
remember, like I was telling you, I'd seen you in the calf.
That's right.
You noticed her.
Oh.
And like I also like, I mean, the college we went to is a small college. Like
Yeah,
everybody
that's
talks
true.
about everybody. So like I knew of you essentially. But we first met at
You can say it.
at pitch meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. I get confused because we also like kind of re-met at Urban Outfitters.
Like
but-
lines are
We met
blurred.
literally like 3 different times. That's why
Like
it's
you
confusing.
said, hey, I'm Genesis.
3 different times.
No, I knew who you were all of those times, but you didn't know who I
didn't
was.
know. Okay, listen, that makes me sound terrible.
Celebrity
There was
status.
no, that was not it at all.
I'm
So
just joking.
technically though, you don't give me credit for this, or you didn't give me credit for this just now. I recognized you first because, like I said, we were in the same class
That's true.
together.
Yes.
And he
I
walked
remember
in. He walked into the event that I was working, and you came over to our table, and I looked at you, and I said, "You're in my marketing class," and we connected then. But I like didn't think anything of it. I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
And there were other situations going on there. So anyway, didn't think anything of it. And then, like you said, yeah, Urban. What was your perspective of Urban? Because you remembered me, and I didn't
Yeah.
remember you.
Well, I told you, I was like, hey, I met you at pitch meeting, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. We're in the same marketing class.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you had just remembered that.
To be fair, though, too, we were both wearing masks when I saw you in Urban. So I only saw your eyes. 'Cause it was during
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
It was during COVID. Or like ending COVID.
I don't think that's true. I don't think we were
Yeah.
required to wear masks.
I think so.
It was end of 2021.
Yeah. It was October of 2021.
COVID was 2020.
I know, but some places still made it mandatory. Like we had to wear masks at Jenny's for the first little bit when we worked there.
I didn't wear a mask at Urban Outfitters.
well,
Yep.
okay, well maybe I
Maybe
I remembered that wrong. And then the third time we met was the like Halloween house show
Right.
where he was playing for a friend of
Yes.
ours, and that's when it like clicked in my brain. Was like, oh,
Yeah.
Joe. So
Okay, cool. So from there, and I know like the Halloween party kind of happened after that, from what I'm remembering. But when did y'all, or I guess like kind of share the story, both of y'all can chime in, of how you came to be like from friends to like more than friends to dating, like, and you can like spare details you want to spare, but like
yeah.
feel free to share kind of your story.
Mm-hmm. Like,
I know it's going to be kind of a long-winded question,
Yeah.
so we're
I
gonna
feel
buckle
like,
down.
honestly, it's pretty simple. Like, we just kept hanging out.
mm-hmm.
Like, that was kind of, it was a very natural progression of just
Mhm.
hanging out as friends and then developing feelings.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a whole lot, in my opinion, else there than that. Like, it's very, like, pretty storybook-like in that sense that it was,
Aww.
that's the way I see it. You can,
That's true. It is very simple. I think what she's referring to too is there is quite a big time gap between when we like met versus when we started dating.
Yeah.
And there was like we had started hanging out, and when we connected after that like Halloween house show thing. You're scooting a little bit. I want to make sure you're like in the frame.
I can
Okay.
see myself.
Okay. Yeah, we started hanging out like all the time.
Yeah.
And it also was convenient that we lived so close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We lived within like a mile of each other. And so it started as like we'd go to the gym together, or, you know, we'd do whatever. I don't even like remember what all we would do.
We did homework.
Homework a
pretty
lot.
Much, yeah, a lot of the time. We hung out on campus too, just like between classes, and we had the same like hour or something break between one of our classes, so we like always hung out then.
Yeah, we'd go to lunch, or we'd go to the Chick-fil-A near campus. And then I'm like, do we want to get into all the things or no?
We don't have to.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I feel like that answers your question.
Yeah.
Is like how we.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask something. I've had such bad brain fog the last day. Gosh, what was I gonna ask you? We may need to pause this for a second. I've literally had the worst brain fog the last few days, and it was such a good question.
Did it have to
I guess. Oh, okay. Like, bro, I literally have had. Hold on, we're gonna have to cut this.
I'm vibing.
Did you write it down?
No, it just like popped in my head. Okay, I have my question. How did like you guys from the start of hanging out like have the intention of being more than friends, or was it very much like we're just hanging out as friends, or was it like one of y'all felt a certain way or the other?
I'd love to hear your perspective on this.
I've been going first every single time, so you can go.
I normally talk on this podcast, so I'm just allowing space. I think for me, I mean, because there was this initial like attraction with him and just like getting to know his personality, I was like, oh, I could be interested in this guy. But I didn't say that to you right off the bat. I wasn't like, oh, hey, like, I like you, like, let's get to know each other. We just kept it as hanging out as friends. And then there was like, I just noticed an ease in being able to talk to him, and like even noticing just like the intentionality that you had of like, you would ask me questions, or like you would initiate stuff. So then it was kind of like, okay, I think there's something here. And then we did have a conversation at a certain point. I'm talking like back in 2021, like before.
So y'all knew feelings, like it wasn't a surprise when that came up?
No, not
at
for
all.
me.
I don't think, not
like
for
none
me
of
either.
y'all were caught off guard by talking about it. So it was like a mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who said they had feelings first.
Do you remember? Who confessed?
Was it you?
First?
I don't actually.
I don't remember.
But we definitely snuggled before we even talked about it.
Dun.
We were watching a movie on the couch.
Wait a minute, what's happening?
We were watching a movie on the couch, and we were like this. We were like snuggled up on the couch. We weren't like that sounds. It can sound so strange when you say it like that, but I remember.
But it's like,
yes, but I do remember distinctly. Neither one of us wanting to move. That's what I remember. Was like neither one of us were like pulling away from the other person, like touching shoulders or touching arms.
Yeah. It went unsaid for a while, which is what was cool about it, because it was like
it just naturally.
Yeah.
So you guys like had a very, like we said, just like organic involvement from like almost like the lines were blurred up until the point you were dating, but it made sense. It wasn't like unhealthy by any means.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't remember y'all's experiences with past relationships with like being friends before dating, but like how do you feel like, whether you have experience or not, like that has benefited your relationship? Because I feel like a lot of people, they just immediately start dating, but it was like with y'all, you kind of had a long-winded time with like being friends. Do you feel like that helped your, does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think for us, or at least for me, I can speak for myself and then you can share your perspective on this too. But for me, I felt like it was very beneficial for us to be friends as long as we were, because ultimately, like, not getting into the nitty gritty of our entire story, but like when things got rekindled with us back in 2022, we also still waited and like just remained being friends and getting to know each other and whatnot, because at least from my point of view, it was helpful to make sure that we were on the same page first, and like making sure that, hey, this is really what we want, before being like to the public, hey, we're dating, or to family, hey, we're dating. Right. It was like, okay, like let's really make sure this is what we're wanting to pursue, this is what we're supposed to pursue. And so I thought it was beneficial for us to wait that long.
Yeah. But my I guess my perspective is similar. It's a little different because with like the nature of guys being, I've told you this, but the nature of guys being more visual, like we were friends, but like for me, I was kind of pursuing that relationship side, like not foremostly, but like it was more of a priority for me. So the friendship side, it was happening simultaneously. Yeah. But like it wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, the friendship. And then now like realizing how important the friendship piece is, like at all, like is kind of like, I'm trying to go back to some of my roots on that, just as time goes into like almost like, not rekindle's a bad word, but like invigorate the friendship, so to speak, because that's like so important.
Well, and it's to go off of what he said too, it's not that there wasn't like that romance factor involved, like during the friendship stage of like getting to know each other. Like we went on a couple dates and like we were still pursuing a relationship, but it wasn't like immediately like we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Like I think that's what I was like trying to say, is like, yes, like there was definitely a romantic undertone throughout all of that, but we weren't just so quick to be like I remember telling you, I had to tell him, I was like, I'm ready to date when you are, so like you let me know like whenever you're ready to lock that down, and then you did. So
I feel like when I hear that, I think of like discernment as like a word, because I think, I mean, like we said before, so many people are so eager to like rush into things, and it's not always a bad thing, but like I guess this might be a hard question to answer, but how did you find like the discernment from God to know like, okay, this is something we actually want to pursue? Like how did that, like for somebody that maybe is like struggling with not being sure of a person or like a relationship, or like it was in a similar situation, what would you say to them was like the way you found discernment from God, like this is what I'm supposed to pursue, even if it wasn't like as clear as this is my wife, you know, like this is like something that God is allowing me to pursue. Does that make sense?
I think there is a healthy amount of discernment used. Obviously prayerfully considering something is really important. I think that's going to be like, at least in my experience, that's one of the biggest things, is just praying and getting, you know, also kind of making light of your relationship to other people who you trust, who like you can tell them basically everything, because those people are going to be like, hey, I think this is a good idea as well. Those two things are really important. I also just think that like there is also a certain percentage of it, if you want to break it down like that, that is just like you kind of do have the freedom to choose, and at the end of the day, sometimes all you can do is roll the dice and see what happens. So I would say those, like the two things that I mentioned prior, those are like definitely contribute more to the discernment factor. But then also like there is any element of risk involved in just rolling the dice, but it's always part of it, and it's always going to be part of it. But if you have the discernment part, I think, you know, if you can say, hey, I give this a good honest try, like that's all you can do.
That's true. I think too, for me, that's like a big thing, is being like, I have to be sure that I'm making the right decision, or I have to whatever. And I think something that I've said throughout the entirety of our relationship is like just thinking about our relationship in the two sections, that is 2021 and then 2022. One, seeing just the personal growth that happened during that time where we weren't like pursuing anything, and being able to see how the Lord orchestrated our lives together, even in the midst of like me like making choices that like weren't like what I was supposed to be doing, you know, or like not pursuing the things that the Lord was telling me to pursue. And so seeing how the Lord still orchestrated like our worlds together, or like even allowed there to be reconciliation between the two of us, or patience and like grace, like those things for me are like evidence of like, okay, we're like walking in the way that we're supposed to be. And then also on top of that, like you're saying, like talking with trusted people and like letting people in on your relationship. Like for me, yes, friendships, but also with my family, like knowing how much they love Joe and knowing how much they like value and respect our relationship. And like those all are things for me that are like confirmation. For me, that's like, okay, like if there was anything, like you're saying, like there's that risk, if there was anything that like was not supposed to be or whatever, then like someone in my family or like your family or our friends would be like, hey, like whatever. Because I've had that happen to me before, where someone has come up to me and been like so
well, sometimes our families or like outsiders can see better than we can in the moment, especially when, because I feel like love can cloud your judgment so much. So that totally makes sense. But and I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I feel like it might be just like interesting to like hear more about like how you integrate God in your relationship, because I don't know, I feel like you can be like super, what's the word, like distant from God in your relationship and not really think about it, but like at least on this podcast we are faith-based. And we like, one of the biggest values in a Christian relationship is that God is in the center of it. And so like I know I've seen Jen walk through a lot in the last few years, and just like seen your growth in that. And so like, how do you guys in your own like way as a couple integrate God like in your relationship? And not just like your private time with God, but like, does that make sense? Like, how do you keep God like in the center? If you know what I'm saying.
Do you want to start or me?
It doesn't matter.
You can go ahead if you want.
Oh man, I think it's a lot of things. For a while, I don't remember exactly how long, but I was kind of hesitant of like praying and reading together, because that was like, that's an intimate thing for me. And we've been doing that for a while now. But that's definitely one thing, is just praying together, reading together. Another thing too that I think is like not super talked about, but I would kind of stand by it, and I was telling you it, is that like even just a lot of the way that you live your life is like is reflective of should be reflective of God's work in you. And so like for the times that like I am really sweet and really kind and like or really gracious, or and vice versa for you to me, like the way you conduct yourself is like, that is God through you. So it's like it's the part of like my life, and my actions are my ministry. And so like, that's good. Even just like, it's so simple, but like it's like the act of worship through that is like a big thing for me. It's like, praying and reading is awesome, and we do that, but also just like the way that we live, and we go to church together. We like, even the way that like you love me and I love you, like should be reflective of that, I think. So I think that's a big thing. That's part of my answer.
No, I agree with that. And I think too, that was such a huge thing that I noticed about him. Like, that was one of the first things I noticed about him too. Like, not just like, oh, I was attracted to you, but the more I got to know you, like how much you just like let your life be a reflection of the Lord. And one of my favorite like things to even like think back on was like when we had that moment of reconciliation and there was a hard conversation that Joe and I had to have. And the way that like there was like a thing that happened, and he basically, I was like, I'm so sorry that like this happened, blah, blah, blah. Like, I could totally understand if like you don't want to move forward. And you looked at me and you were like, you know, the Lord calls us to live like him, and the Lord has forgiven you, so I forgive you, and we're moving on. And I was like,
shit,
what? Like so
that's crazy.
Backing him up on that, like, yes, your actions are so important with that.
Right.
Because it's one thing to just like, oh, I read my Bible and I pray, but like to like actively walk that out is a whole other like level of that. But also like serving together. That's something that I've really enjoyed doing. We serve on the worship team together. We're starting in the youth ministry together now. And it's like, that is just so exciting to get to implement even more. Like, I saw the old youth leaders at our church that when they had stepped down, she made a post and basically was saying like, how awesome it was to be in a leadership position like that while in a relationship, because she and her husband were heading up the youth department. And she was saying it was such a place even for accountability for themselves as leaders to like, you know, like they might have had a disagreement before youth group. And they're like, we have to get right with each other and we have to get right with the Lord before we can lead these teenagers.
Literally.
And I was thinking about that. I don't even think I told you that, but I thought about that and I was like, dang, like,
yeah, that's good.
That's so cool. Like, that's another way that you can like keep the Lord at the center, even just in a leadership position. So yes, to all the things that you said. Yeah. And more.
I love that. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Actions are really important. And like Ethan, I wish Ethan was here because like we've been talking about in premarital counseling kind of this idea too, and how, well, our premarital counselor basically said like the key to a healthy marriage and even just like a healthy relationship is to wake up every morning asking yourself, how can I make the other person a better follower of Jesus today? And like a big part of that is like serving the other person and like how you treat them and like how you talk to them, how you act with them, like everything, you know? So I feel like that there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom there. So y'all take notes. But I do want to talk about y'all's church community too, because I feel like that is a really big part of y'all's life. Yeah. And I won't speak too much for y'all's story, but for those of you guys who have never met these people before, they're a part of a really sweet church. Jen's parents are pastors, and they do a lot of things together. You guys are very integrated into your age group at your church. Yeah. And so how do you balance that with like building your relationship as individually like together? Because I feel like people can go on either side of the spectrum of like only hanging out with people all the time and never spending time alone, or like only hanging out with your significant other and like never having community. Like how have you found a balance, or like maybe you're trying to figure out a balance, and like how has that community, it's a long-winded question, but like I'm just thinking on the fly, like how has that community helped your relationship? Because I'm sure it has. Yeah, like they're all incredible people.
Yeah. Wow.
Long-winded question.
Yeah. I think. Oh,
Ethan, is it not on Do Not Disturb?
I don't know. Is it?
Is
the computer still recording?
He bypassed it. Hold on.
Pause. Oh, throws the microphone on the ground.
Nice.
I think he bypassed my Do Not Disturb.
Did he?
Yeah. We're still recording.
Okay, good.
Is he in danger?
Uh-oh. Ethan. Do you have an answer to the question?
Yeah, but I've been going first, so you can go first.
I can go first. I'm like waiting for Kirsten.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure.
Wait, are you drinking mine?
Disturb.
Wait, I mean, I don't care, but
I don't think so. Mine's on the left.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't realize mine was that close to the edge.
Okay, let me text him one last thing. Sorry. We can cut all this.
No, it's fine. It's the whatever podcast.
Okay,
It's whatever.
we're back.
Just fast forward it and play some like elevator music.
The Jeopardy
Literally.
theme song.
It wasn't that long.
So
Community.
Well, I think community has a huge part to do in our relationship, not even just for us, but also like we've had so many people in our group tell us to like how cool it is to have like a relationship aspect like ours in our community, because we're the only dating couple.
Oh, really?
In our friend group. Yeah.
Ever since Rod and Olivia got engaged and married.
Yeah, so they're married now.
Oh.
So
in
our
Carrie and John were also once with us, but
yes,
they also got married.
Yes, they also got married. But also those people are a few years to like 10 years older than us.
Yeah.
So like, but we're the only people that are dating in I think in the whole church. I think so. And so that's been really cool to like have, like there's people that say that we're an example to them, and that's like crazy for like them to say that about us. But and in regards to them impacting our relationship, I think it's a huge thing to have community, because this is something that we've talked about in the past. We don't really talk about it much anymore because we just implement it, like we just do it. But he and I both know that we cannot be absolutely everything to each other. Like there are going to be things like, I love this man so much, but there are things that like he can only get from like being with the guys, or there are things that like
I'm listening.
And I think that's when community is really important, because if you try to find, well, and even just faith in general, like if you try to find all of your fulfillment and contentment and happiness and whatever, fill in the blank, from one person, like you're going to be let down and you're going to be disappointed, and that's not and that's not healthy to put that much of an expectation on somebody else.
Right.
And so I think it's been really sweet for us to have that community that we can like fall back on, and like I can hang out with the girls, or you can hang out with the guys, and like they get to pour into us as individuals, but also the married people that are in our community get to pour into us as a couple. And like that's been fun too, having like couples that are a few steps ahead of us, and like being able to do life with them and like learn from them and whatnot has just been really sweet. But there definitely is a balance. Like we still prioritize like, let's go out on a date or like whatever, but we see them pretty often. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I honestly, that was pretty well said. I don't know if I'd add too much. I definitely just personally, I lie more on the introverted side. So like having my me time is like it's more needed for me to like actively function like a human being. But yes, community is very important, and our church also just has a pretty good pool of people from all different places of life to speak into us, and vice versa. And even now with the youth, I'm really just excited to hang out with the youth. Those kids are my jam.
You're gonna be so good at that. I'm scared for myself, but I know that you're gonna.
So you guys
rock
haven't
that.
Started, right?
Not yet.
No, we start in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, actually.
Have you guys been preparing like beforehand at all, or like what does that look like? I'm like nerding out over it right now because I totally forgot y'all were doing that, and like Ethan and I are also in student ministry, so it's just like a cool thing to bond over.
Parallels.
And such like, literally, we live the same life.
I know.
Jen and I are good friends.
We literally were talking about that this morning.
We have the same life.
We have walked through the same things together, just like either her a few steps ahead of me a few steps ahead of her, like whatever it is, like we always end up in the same life circumstance. So that's really cool.
Right.
But there's been quite a bit of behind the scenes prep at this point. I feel like right now we're at a point where there's not a whole lot more prep besides you're leading the first night that that we're starting. So I mean, I don't know if you're prepping for that now or what your timeline is with that, but the majority of prep with that was really in like like December, like we did like a Christmas party with them to like let everyone meet us and like get to know us, and also to honor the youth leaders that have been there for the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
But we're really pumped. I think the kids are really excited too. We've had
so.
a good response with that. So
yeah, I will say, like, and Jen, you probably know this, but like Ethan and I being in ministry together has been like one of the most special things that we've ever gotten to do together, because it's like nothing else. Like there's nothing like serving and like doing something that you're both passionate about, and like running. It's almost like I like envision you like running alongside each other, like the same race, but it's like we're in different lanes. So it's like I'm so excited that y'all get to do that, because it's truly like so special. And we got like a glimpse of that last summer, you know, when we did that camp.
That's the biggest thing, is like when my parents, pastors, all the things, when they approached us and asked us to take over, that was the thing that I thought of immediately was camp last summer. And I was like, you were so good at interacting with the kids. And it's funny because you say you're introverted, but I feel like around teenagers I become very introverted and quiet, and you like come out of your shell. You're like, that is my environment. So we like switch almost.
I'm a Gen Alpha at heart.
What?
It's because I know all the cool Gen Alpha memes and stuff.
Sticking out your gap for the Rizzler.
All right. Yeah, that's why the kids don't think you're cool.
Okay, listen.
Finish your thought.
Ew, we did that at the same time.
Pitch.
Gross. No, I was gonna say it's I'm excited for this new like lane of ministry and serving with him, because we've been doing worship ministry together for the last almost 6 months, I think. Has it only been? No, that's a lie. No, it's been like it's literally been a year and a half.
Yeah,
I'm so dumb.
It's been a while.
I was thinking August of last year, but it was August of 2022 when you joined the worship team. Forgive my brain. Somewhere around there. Anyway, we've been serving in like worship ministry together, and that's been really fun. But I'm really excited for this aspect of like teaching together and like preparing a word. Like that's a whole different level of ministry than just like, not that worship isn't great, that's like what my passion still is, but like that's a whole different level of like ministry, is like teaching. So I'm really excited to see you step into that. And like,
have y'all ever taught before?
I have. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I've never seen you teach though, I don't think.
I've only done it like once or twice.
Yeah.
I'm excited for y'all.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to recap what you guys are learning through that in a future episode.
Yes.
But we can kind of change gears a little bit, because I want to ask like more about your relationship and how, well, I guess let me just phrase the question. What's something that you've learned about yourself through dating each other? It can be like really small, or it can be like really deep, like whatever comes to mind. But I thought that would be interesting to ask.
What's something I've learned about myself?
Yourself. Yes.
A lot. Oh man.
Do you have something?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get like.
And if you need a second,
the silence is deafening.
There's a plane.
Do you have something
flying over right now as we speak?
Not really. I'm thinking though.
I know. I'm thinking too.
I know it's a deep question.
I know there's stuff for sure.
Because I feel like you learn something in every relationship, but I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think for me, I became more aware of my like level of willingness, I suppose, which is something that can be grown, obviously, but like I definitely think that for a while, like I was kind of exposed in the fact that like I wasn't always willing to do what I should be doing for you. And that was like, I think it's something that I'm better at now and still improving in for sure. But I think that's also just like every guy in a relationship will learn that eventually. Cause we will kind of naturally are more privy to doing what we feel like doing
Yeah.
and not what we need to be doing.
And love isn't always a feeling.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it takes some discipline. It takes, just willingness. But yeah, I think that's probably the one that comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. I think for me, to first off note, Joe and I are so different. Like,
Yeah.
we are polar opposites in a lot of things, if not everything. And so with that has come a lot of like growth and a lot of things that maybe I wasn't aware of, because in past relationships things just weren't like, they were just different. And
Right.
so I think for me, something that I've sharp pain, sorry, when I breathed in. Y'all ever get gas pains?
No. Yes.
Ow, that hurts so bad. I
No.
felt like I was getting, you don't get gas pains?
Mm-mm.
Got a shot.
Oh my gosh, that's literally what it felt like. I felt like I was stabbed. No, I think that one thing that I've learned is I have, I guess, not realized how in the past, how like difficult it has been for me to like, and let me unpack this, but like, I've just been made aware of like blind spots in my life, or in things like trust, or like all those things, because I'm with somebody that I can fully trust, and that has, like, I've said this to you, but like has never given me a reason to think that he's gonna like walk out and leave, or not, like, you've not ever like threatened to leave. Like, there's always been this willingness from his end that he was just talking about. But I am an overthinker, and I tend to, like, even when I can totally trust what he's saying, I found that I can like talk myself into like, oh, well, what if, and blah, blah, blah. And I just start to like spiral and all this stuff. And when I bring that to him, it's so funny, because you don't ever make me feel like stupid for it, and you don't ever like discredit my feelings, but you are so quick to like reel me back in and be like, hey, like, okay, let's rationalize this. Like, is there a reason to feel this way? Is there whatever? And I know I keep playing with your little thing. But that's something that I've really noticed, is that like there are things that I didn't realize were almost like defense mechanisms and stuff for me, that you in a very loving way have like not like been like, you need to change this, but like, hey, like this, like, you can trust me, like, I'm not going anywhere, like, let's not discredit your feelings, but let's, like, you've really helped me grow in that area of like trust, and like being able to, like, you remind me of what scripture says of like taking thoughts captive and like all that kind of stuff. And so that's been something for me. I didn't realize how my brain was, and how like I process things, and how much I let things get to me, until I really think this is the first relationship that I've like fully been able to be like completely vulnerable with my thoughts and whatever, and like feel like, and not feel like, oh, that he's gonna leave me, or he's gonna whatever. Like, you are literally the most like secure and consistent person I've ever met in my entire life, and the Lord knew that I needed somebody like that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's something I've learned.
I think that's really sweet. So like you said, you guys are very different, and kind of, I mean, we've talked about it, but like, it reminds me of Ethan and I, and pretty much exactly like how we are wired differently too. I mean, we're similar, but like very different in that way. So like, how, and you kind of shared, but like, how do you guys like meet in the middle with that stuff? Because you can get too far over to where like your anxious thoughts do take over, but like you can also get on the other side of it, of like not acknowledging feelings, you know? So like, how has that become more of a like meeting in the middle thing for you guys? Like, was it an easy thing? Was it like it took a second to like figure out each other in your differences, or how did that go for y'all?
I mean, it just takes communication.
Yeah.
It's not something we've even like mastered by any means. Something
Yeah.
we're definitely still working on, but I mean, oftentimes it's compromise. Oftentimes it's one person laying down their thing for the other. Like, I think both of those seem to be so far pretty good things that we do is one person either lays down their thing for the other person, or we meet in the middle and actually compromise.
Right.
Obviously it's case to case. It depends on what the situation actually is. But yeah, definitely, like, kind of just also goes back to willingness, like being willing to compromise, and like that's, if we have that, then I think like that's carried us pretty far.
Right.
And just being willing to compromise or lay down your thing for the other person's thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's definitely, like you said, it's not been easy, especially with how different we are wired, like in our brains. It can be really easy to be like, well, I just don't understand why you feel that way, or I don't understand why you think that way.
Right.
And if anything, that, like, this goes back to just like keeping the Lord at the center of your relationship through your actions. Like, that's been something that we've really tried to do, is like, okay, not have that flesh response of like, well, why do you think that way? Or like, but trying to genuinely like understand, and like you're saying, have that willingness to like, okay, like, I love you and I want to figure this out. So like, if it's not, you know, I don't think we've ever been at a place where we've been like, well, I want this and you want this and we can't figure it out. Like, we have always found a middle ground to where both people are getting their needs met and both of their feelings feel validated. But we're able to come to a place of like, okay, if you need this and I need this, like, how can we accomplish that right now for each other? Like, what can we do? And yeah, I remember like that conversation. We had a conversation, I guess it was about a year ago, or so, a year and a few months ago. We were standing in a Zaxby's, and we brought up just that topic of willingness. Like, okay, like, we're in this relationship and we want this to work out. So like, what is that going to take? To like, that makes it sound like things were terrible. Things were not terrible. But every relationship, like, you get to that point where you're like, what do we have to do to make sure that this like lasts? Like, what we want to put in the work. Right. And we got on the topic of willingness and being willing to, like he was saying, like, lay down the things that like, okay, I really want to do this, but he needs this in this moment. So like, I want to prioritize that, or vice versa. Right. And I remember you looking at me and you were like, I'm willing if you are. Like, I'm willing to go, like, I want to do this with you. And I was like, I am too. Yeah. And that was a long time ago.
Well, I think like,
you're still here.
I feel like that's so good. And I like the word willingness too, because I don't hear that word often. But like, I feel like a lack of willingness is like the silent killer of relationships. Yeah. Because our gut reaction as humans is to protect self and not to think of others. And so it's like almost backwards to like think of other people. But like, I'm going to pull from our premarital counseling again, because I feel like it's all good, but like the second, I mean, I would argue like in a relationship too, but like when you're in a marriage, especially, your life is no longer about you. And I feel like relationships should mirror that in some ways. Even though it's not the same commitment, it's like you're to think about them more than yourself, because that's what Jesus would have done. Yeah. So I feel like willingness is such a good, it's just like so simple, but I feel like it's such a good reminder to like be willing to do things you wouldn't normally do for people, you know? Yeah. I love that.
And that doesn't mean that we haven't had our fair share of conversations of like, I need you to do this for me, or like whatever. Like, you don't get that way. I have definitely, I will be, what is that term? Vulnerable or whatever. Yeah. Candid. And candid. And like, there have been those conversations where like, I'm saying, hey, I need this. And he's like, well, that's not my natural like go-to. But again, that underlying tone of like willingness, like, okay, like this might not be my natural reaction, especially like even like love languages. Like we can be very different. Like, but I feel like our love languages kind of like ebb and flow. Like they sometimes we're higher in others and sometimes we're like lower in others. And there will be times where like I'm like I feel loved in this way, but you feel loved in this way. It's like, well, I have to be willing to love him in the way that he feels loved, and vice versa. And so
I feel like it's also like, especially the longer you're in a relationship, it's like the willingness to adapt. Because there's also the way of like, some people just stay in the same way of like giving love and receiving love, and they're not willing to adapt to that person changing, because you change as like you get older.
Yeah.
So I feel like just that constant theme of willingness, like willingness to serve, willingness to adapt, willingness to like go out of your way for somebody. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys have anything else to add to that?
I don't think so.
I feel like we should change to like more like sweet, simple questions. But I want to ask, like, I have a couple questions in mind, but like, what's like a fond memory you have together that like you always like you think of and you're like, oh, or like a favorite memory you have? I just feel like I feel
how
like
do you pick from a year and a half?
It doesn't have to be like your number one memory, but just like a memory that you're like, man, that was a really sweet time.
Yeah. Let me think.
I always love hearing stories.
We kind of do this every like 6 months, because we go out. Yeah, we have like a 6 month recap. Like, what was your favorite memory of the last 6 months?
Well, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
It was raining and we got out of the car and danced in the rain, and that was fun.
That was the best.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was so. You're smiling because you enjoyed it. That was the most romantic thing a man has ever done for me, I think. That was like, it just started pouring rain. I don't even like I think we had like eaten lunch outside or something like that.
I don't remember.
And fair enough. And it started pouring rain, and I mentioned something about like dancing in the rain, and you just pulled over and we got out and you just slow danced with me in the rain. I was like, I'm in a movie right now. This is
I am living
this
right
is
now.
the best day of my life. Dang, that's good.
That's sweet.
I'm trying to think. The day that, I mean, this might be cliche, but the day that you asked me to be your girlfriend was like the best day ever. That was really sweet. And just that, like, the excitement that was, and us kind of having like a new spot that was like our spot or whatever. Gosh, how do I even like, I can't pick from, I don't know if this is like a favorite memory of yours, but when I surprised you in Colorado, I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
That's a good one.
And even just, I'm sorry, I keep talking.
No.
But just a few weeks ago, we had our little, like, we had the snowstorm that came through Nashville, and just the like everyday, like, just doing the everyday like mundane tasks with him was so fun. And I mentioned that like when we went out for our anniversary, it was just like, dang, that week where it was just like we worked together.
That's true. Yeah.
Or, you know, nice. It was just like a nice, like, it was the most simple thing, but it was just so sweet, because it was like, dang, like this is what every day could be like. Yeah. Like just work together and make lunch, and
it's the simple things.
Yeah.
What's like your favorite thing about each other? Can be like really small, or can be like a deep thing, whatever comes to mind.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. You're sitting so far away from me.
Sorry.
You're like on the edge of the camera.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It is. It's blessed.
It's blessed. He kept saying, that was throw up in your mouth for real.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I had some
yikes.
Some liquidage.
Yuck. I think my favorite thing about Joe, there's so many things that are my favorite things, but I think one of my favorite things about you is just your heart for the Lord, and how that is like your priority for everything, like down to your actions. Like your love for the Lord plays into your actions, and the way that you show love and the way that you treat me. Like, I love all those things about you. But also, like, you are one of the most, like, you put so much like thought into things, and I like love your brain. I've said this from the very beginning, but like your brain is so intriguing to me. I think it's because it's so different than mine that like I want to like fully understand how you process things, and I want to fully understand like why you think about things the way that you do. And so I love that about you, and you are just insanely talented and incredibly funny.
Aww.
You make me laugh so hard, and I love that about you. Just your heart and your mind and your soul and everything. I just love everything about you. I can't. Okay, my turn.
I would say, I don't even know what to call it, but like you were always tracking with me. And I think the best way to explain that is like you like, if I suggest something that we should do, you're like, yeah, let's do it. Or like I'll start talking about something and you'll talk about it with me. And it's like maybe even things like something that I know you don't necessarily like care about, but you'll like talk with me about it. Like, cause I have a hard time doing that with people, like with other people. Is like, if I'm not really interested in something, like I don't care to talk about it too much.
Jen just rolls with it.
I do.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's called, but just like you were always like attentive to me and either what I'm saying to you or what I'm wanting, is an awesome quality about you. And I even think just like, I always say this, but like you say that you love my brain, but like I love your heart, which is like,
I'm gonna cry.
it's just like,
I want to hold your hand.
It's okay.
Hey yo.
No PDA on the pod.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just kidding. But like it's definitely something that I lack in individually. Is like I'm trying to be better at it, but like sympathy, empathy, compassion, like kind of those more hearty characteristics that you really excel at carrying and having. And it's like really simple things, just like being kind and being, even like what I was saying earlier, just being interested. And just sacrificing your time, sacrificing your talents, like those sort of things. So I would say, yeah.
This was so heartfelt. I was not expecting
That
these
was
answers.
so sweet.
Me over here,
literally
tearing up.
That was like, I thank you for everything that you said. That was very sweet.
It was very thoughtful.
It was very thoughtful. But I even that is so funny to me. Of like, you're like, I love your heart, I do love your heart, but like me being intrigued by your brain and you being intrigued by my heart, like you cause me to think, or like, because you're such a deep thinker, like that is like, I don't even know how to like explain that. Like you challenge me to like be a deep thinker in the same way that you feel like I challenge you. Right. With like the heart things, like it's like that perfect like balance cycle.
I was saying it the other day, but like it's like the trade-off of like me becoming more heartfelt and sentimental and compassionate, and then also like with you trying to like become tactful in the way that you like express yourself or like love on somebody, or like the way you communicate with somebody, like both are like gleaning certain things from the other person that helps your heart to have my brain, and it helps my brain to have your heart, if that makes sense.
We help each other grow a lot.
Make each other better. I love that. Sweet. Okay, I have 2 more questions. Okay. And they're a little more light, but I feel like they'd be fun ones to end on.
Okay.
What do you guys like to do for fun? Because I selfishly want to know, so Ethan and I have more fun things to do. But also I feel like it's just fun to hear like what people enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you guys like to do for fun as a couple? Any specific things?
Like just us two?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we like to go running together. We like to go to comedy club. I don't know.
The gym. We go to the
Like,
gym.
what
a
are your
lot
couple
together.
hobbies together?
So are you asking what our hobbies are or what we like to do for fun?
Both.
Is that not the same thing?
It's the same thing.
I think you can have a
Like-
like obviously I enjoy going to the gym with you, but it's like
It's not like our hobby.
I would much rather do something maybe more exciting and
That is
less
true.
like, you know.
I would too, but sometimes our schedules don't allow for that. So the best we can do is the gym.
Yeah, and not that that's not fun, but
No, that's true.
Yeah. Or even like summertime things. Like, are there things in the summer you guys enjoy doing?
Kayaking.
Doesn't have to be
lakes.
right now.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think like
Or even it's like watching TV.
like basic like day-to-day things that we like to do together. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like if we have more time, then that like expands what we like to do together.
mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is like the gym. We have a couple shows that we like watching. One of them that we're into right now is Love on the Spectrum.
yes.
We're going through
Oh
that
my
one right now.
gosh.
We sometimes do music together. We've like written some stuff together, or like you've helped me with some of my music stuff, or you know, what else do we do together? Board games.
I like doing new things with you.
I do too.
Like we've talked about wanting to do the candle making thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I think
Yeah.
would be super fun. And there's like a lot of stuff honestly in Nashville that I haven't even done yet that we are like, oh, we should do that, and we just haven't yet because whatever reason. But
Well, it's also weird because I've grown up here,
Right.
so like
You're not
there's a lot of
really-
things you haven't done that I'm like, not that I have done either, but I'm like, oh, it's
yeah,
you know, but a lot of new things. There's a lot of things that we like want to do in the future too. Like we want to travel,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to think what else we made like a list of stuff that we wanted to do, and now I'm like blanking on it.
mm-hmm.
We enjoy football. We really like football.
I mean, honestly, a lot of
season.
the basic outings are fun too. Just like going to
Mhm.
the movies or going to get food.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
those things turn into more fun things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like when we're together.
Mm-hmm. Or even just the like spontaneous, like we used to do this a lot, like back in the day, like when we first started dating. But we would just like go on drives. Like we would just like go and like we'd leave the gym and we would just go drive around and listen to music
Mhm.
and just like be like just have company with each
Yeah.
other.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there were times because like the older I've gotten, you met me at a really interesting time where yes, I'm still extroverted in some aspects, but I do enjoy my alone time or my like recharge time. And I remember there were times where we would be in the car and first of all, one of the things that I noticed was that we could just be silent together and it wasn't awkward.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have to fill up silence all the
Yeah.
time. But I had mentioned to you, like we would be in the car and we would just be listening to music and we wouldn't talk and it wasn't awkward. And you would look at me, you'd be like, are you having your introverted time? And I was like, yeah, I am. And we would just like, just drive around,
That's
just like
sweet.
listen to music or whatever. But it was just nice knowing like he's here with me, she's here with me. And like, we just got to like
Mm-hmm.
be together
Mhm.
and just as simple as that. And it doesn't cost any money. I mean, besides gas, but you can worry about that later.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
'Kay.
Kind of from the last question, but okay, it's Friday night. What is like y'all's ideal Friday night together? If you have no plans, like you're playing, just spend the time together. What's like a dream Friday night for y'all? Is it like, I mean, it could be whatever you want.
Yeah.
What do you usually like
What
to
do we even do on Friday nights?
I recently have really liked making food with
Yes.
you. Like
That's been
we'll
fun.
just pick something like random to make, and then we just go to the store, make a thing out of it, and just go to the store, get the stuff, and then we'll cook something together. Like we've done it where like I've made the entree and you make a dessert, or vice versa, and just like either watching a movie. Like I'm definitely more of a stay at home Friday night kind of
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like going out too, but that for me right now has been
I
Yeah.
love
probably my ideal one if I were to answer.
Yeah, I like that too. And I think even adding the aspect of, we've done this a couple times, but just even like at home, like doing game nights or whatever. Like we have a couple board games, like I said earlier, that we like to play, or not
Yeah.
even board games, or like bananagrams. Like that's not a board game, but like
Yeah,
I
just
love
we like playing that
Bananagrams.
together. Or I'm trying to think what else. We don't really like. I would say that's pretty much a basic. Like Friday night is like we cook dinner.
mhm.
We'll maybe like watch an episode of our show, or we'll like hang out with another, like
Yeah.
like we'll hang out with Georgie and Donovan or something. We've been doing that a lot recently.
Yeah.
Just like going over to their house and eating dinner with them, and
Mhm.
so that's been fun. But
It's so weird how things change when you get older. Like, I used to always like want to go out on a Friday night, but now it's
Mhm.
like I savor the times that we get to just like be inside,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
cook dinner,
Yeah.
and like not talk to anybody.
Mhm.
Yep.
well, it's
I just
very
feel like it's so
different.
underrated.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say it's different too because we've gotten older and have matured a
We're
lot.
in our
and-
mid-20s.
Yeah, and it's not like the whole like. I think even just like from a singles aspect, like there's that like, oh, I go out to meet new people or I go out to experience new
Yeah.
things, and it's like, not that I don't want to meet new people, but I'm just kind of like, I have my circle, I have my man. I'm not like
Right.
dying out here to go like
right.
Mhm.
make new besties or whatever. But also like, yeah, it's like we still go out, like we'll go out to dinner. We have a couple restaurants that we like to go to around town.
Mhm.
But it's more so like, it's less about like what we are doing, but
Mhm.
rather like how we can be intentional in what we're doing, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So it could be dinner at home, it could be dinner out, it could be going to a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But as long as there's that intentionality behind it of like, hey, we're going to put our phones away, or hey, like it's just you and me, like we're going to just like, we're going to go to a movie and watch the movie and then like debrief afterwards and whatever. And it's just like, we're not going to let like any distractions come in and just like
Yeah.
focus on each other.
I love
So-
that.
Mm.
Anything else you want to add?
Any last
Mm.
thoughts? I feel like that's a good place to end on.
Yeah.
Faya.
Thank you guys for sharing your stories
Yes.
and for your wisdom. I feel like there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom in that. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this episode and like want to do more of these, because this is going to be kind of like our format for a little bit
Yes.
here for a second. So thank you guys for
Drake
leading the
collab.
way.
Drake collab.
Drake
Drake
collab.
podcast.
Yeah, I think we're good.
My cabbages.
My gosh.
See,
All right.
I said you're funny, one of the funniest people I know. Okay, Joe's leaving.
Yep. See you guys.
He's gonna go to bed.
Yeah, I just yawned.
Your
I'm
dogs
so
have been
tired.
out this whole time.
Yes, they have.
Free dogs.
Guys, drop in the chat the guests you want to have next.
Drake collab.
I think next episode should be. He's just trying to get out of here. He's like, I want to be out from the camera so bad. Next episode should be Joe and Ethan.
Just Joe
That'd be
and
fun.
Ethan.
Just Joe and Ethan. You guys can talk about whatever you want.
On the whatever podcast.
Yes.
That'd be funny.
All right. Welcome back for season 2, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Drake
Oh.
collab.